friends. Today I'll be talking about functions of management. Management, in some form or another, is an integral part of living and is essential whenever human efforts are to be undertaken to achieve desired objectives. The basic ingredients of management are always at play whether we manage our lives or business. Management is a set of principles relating to the functions of planning, organizing, directing, and controlling, and the applications of these principles in the harnessing physical, financial, human, and informational resources efficiently and effectively to achieve organizational goals. Management is essential for an organized life and necessary to run in all types of organizations. Managing life means getting things done to achieve life's objectives, and managing an organization means getting things done with and through other people to achieve its objectives. There are basically five primary functions of management. These are planning, organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling. The controlling function comprises coordination, reporting, and budgeting, and hence the controlling function can be broken into these three separate functions, that is coordination, reporting, and budgeting. Now let us see these functions in detail. First function, that is planning. Planning is future oriented and determines an organization's direction. It is a rational and systematic way of making decisions today and that will affect the future of the company. It involves predicting of the future as well as attempting to control the events. It involves the ability to foresee the effects of current actions in long run in the future. Now Peter Drucker has defined planning as: planning is the continuous process of making present entrepreneurial decisions systematically and with best possible knowledge of their futurity, organizing systematically and efforts needed to carry out these decisions and measuring the results of these decisions against the expectations through organized and systematic feedback. Now there are certain characteristics of planning. We will see some. The first characteristic is managerial function. Planning is a first and foremost managerial function which provides the base for other functions of management, that is organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling, as they are performed within the periphery of the plans. Goal oriented. It focuses on defining the goals of the organization, identifying alternative course of action, and deciding the appropriate action plan which is to be undertaken for reaching the goals. Next characteristic is pervasive. It is pervasive in the sense that it is present in all the segments and is required at all the levels of the organization. Although the scope of planning varies at different levels and departments. Continuous process. Plans are made for a specific term, say for a month, quarter, a year, and so on. Once that period is over, new plans are drawn, considering the organization's present and future requirements and conditions. Therefore, it is an ongoing process, as the plans are framed, executed, and followed by another plan. Another characteristic is intellectual process. It is a mental exercise as it involves the application of mind to think, forecast, imagine intelligently, and innovative. Futuristic. In the process of planning, we talk of future. It encompasses looking into the future to analyze and predict It's so that the organization can face future challenges effectively. And the last characteristic is decision making. Decisions are made regarding the choice of alternative courses of action that can be undertaken to reach the goal. The alternative chosen should be best among all, with the least number of the negative and highest number of positive outcomes. Next function of management is organizing. Organizing requires a formal structure of authority and the direction and flow of such authority through which work subdivisions are defined, arranged, and coordinated so that each part relates to the other part in a united and coherent manner so as to attain the prescribed objectives. According to Henry Fayol, to organize a business is to provide it with everything useful or its functioning, that is raw material, tools, capitals, and personals. The function of organizing involves the determination of activities that need to be done in order to reach the company's goals, assigning these activities to the proper personnel and delegating the necessary authority to carry out these activities in the coordinated and cohesive manner. The function of organizing is concerned with the following things: identifying the tasks that must be performed and grouping them whenever necessary. Second, assigning this task to the personnel while defining their authority and responsibility. Delegating the authority to these employees, establishing a relationship between authority and responsibility, and coordinating these activities. Once a manager sets goals and develops plans, his next managerial function is organizing human resource and other resources that are identified as necessary by a plan to reach the goal. Organizing involves determining how activities and resources are to be assembled and coordinated. The purpose of organization structure is to create an environment for the best human performance. The structure must be define the task. It must define the task to be done. The rules so established must also be designed in light of the abilities and motivations of the people available. Next function of management is staffing. Staffing is the function of hiring and attaining a suitable workforce for the enterprise both at managerial as well as non-managerial levels. It involves the process of recruiting, training, developing, compensating, and evaluating employees and maintaining the workforce with proper incentives and motivations. Since the human element is the most vital factor in the process of management, it is important to recruit the right personnel. According to Coons and O'Donnell, managerial function of staffing involves manning the organization structure through the proper and effective selection, appraisal, and development of personnel to fill the roles assigned in the structure. This function is even more critically important since people differ in their intelligence, knowledge, skills, experience, physical condition, age, and attitudes, and this complicates the function. Hence, management must understand, in addition to the technical and operational competence, the sociological and the psychological structure of the workforce. Now, certain characteristics of staffing: people-centered. Staffing can broadly view as people-centered function, and therefore it is relevant for all types of organization. It is concerned with categories of personnel from top to bottom of the organization. That is blue collar workers, that is those who are working on the machines and engaged in loading, unloading, etc. and white collar workers, that is clerical employees, managerial and non-managerial personnel, professionals such as chartered accountants, company secretary, and so on. The second characteristic is responsibility of manager. Staffing is the basic function of management, which involves that the manager is continuously engaged in performing the staffing function. They are actively associated with the recruitment, selection, training, and appraisal of the subordinates. Therefore, the activities are performed by the chief executive, departmental managers, and foremen in relation to their subordinates. Next characteristic is human skills. Staffing function is mainly concerned with different types of training and development of human resource, and therefore the managers should use human relation skill in providing guidance and training to the subordinates. If the staffing function is performed properly, then the human relations in the organization will be cordial and mutually performed in an organized manner. And the last characteristic is continuous function. Staffing function is to be performed continuously, which is equally important for a new and well-established organization. Since in a newly established organization there has to be recruitment, selection, and training of personnel. As we compare that the organization which is already a running organization, then at the place every manager is engaged in various staffing activities. Therefore, the manager is responsible for managing all the workers in order to get work done for the accomplishment of the overall objectives of an organization. The next function of management is directing. Basically, directing is the process of giving orders and guiding employees to fulfill their assigned jobs. In our daily life, we all see directing processes like a restaurant owner guides his staff or employees to deliver food timely and smoothly. Or on the other side, a teacher gives direction to his students to complete their selected assignment. In this example, we see that directing is made to achieve the predetermined plans. The modern day definition of directing could be: it is the process of guiding, leading, advising, and motivating or inspiring employees to accomplish the organizational goals effectively and efficiently. Directing is one of the key managerial functions which is accomplished by every manager in an organization. The directing function is concerned with leadership, communication, motivation, and supervision, so that the employees perform their activities in the most efficient manner possible in order to achieve the desired goals. Characteristics of directing: initiates action. Directing is the major function of management in an organization. In an organization, managers direct their employees with other managerial functions including planning, organizing, staffing, and as well as controlling to achieve the predetermined organization objectives. The other managerial functions help to set the actions for workforces. Directing takes this action in the real world. Excuse me. Second characteristic is takes place at every level of management. In every level of organization, managers lead or direct employees to well perform their selected work. The directing comes in order in the real world where managers and employees relations remain continuous process. Directing or leading is a continuous approach or process. It is a lifelong activity that helps to fulfill the organizational long-term goals. If you observe Google, Apple, Tata, or any big organization, what you see is that the managers are changing, but the directing is constant, which helps to continue the organization activities. Next characteristic, flows from head to tail of organization. Directing begins at the top level of management and then it flows to the bottom of the organization's hierarchy. In an organization, every manager can direct his co-workers with the help of top manager's instructions. Performance oriented. Directing is a performance oriented activity. The primary objective of directing is fetching the skillful performance of employees. It helps to transform plans into execution. A performance oriented approach is a vital part of directing or leading. Directing controls the performance of employees to complete the organizational goals. Human element. Directing is all about leading and motivating the human capital of the enterprise. It builds better coordination and communion, which helps to get rid of confusion and misinterpretation. Direction inspires or motivates employees to work in their best caliber. The directing function is concerned with leadership, communication, motivation, supervision. The leadership element involves issuing of instructions and guiding the subordinates about procedures and methods. The communication must be open both ways so that the information can be passed to the subordinates and the feedback received from them to the top management. Motivation is very important since highly motivated people show excellent performance with the less direction from superiors. Supervising subordinates would lead to continuous progress reports as well as assure the superiors that the directions are being properly carried out. So the employees perform their activities in the most efficient manner possible in order to achieve the desired goal. The next function of management, the last function of management, is controlling. The function of control consists of those activities that are undertaken to ensure that the events do not deviate from the pre-arranged plans. The activities consist of establishing standards for work performance, measuring performance and comparing it to these set standards, and taking corrective actions as and when needed to correct the deviations. According to Kunz and O'Donnell, controlling is the measurement and correction of performance activities of subordinates in order to make sure that the enterprise objectives and plans desired to obtain them is being accomplished. Some features or characteristics of controlling are as: controlling is an end function, a function which comes once the performance are made in conformities with plans. Controlling is a pervasive function, which means it is performed by managers at all levels and in all type of concerns. Controlling is forward looking because effective control is not possible without past being controlled. Controlling always look to future so that follow-up can be made whenever required. Controlling is a dynamic process. Since controlling requires taking a review, method changes have to be made wherever possible. Controlling is related with planning. Planning and controlling are two inseparable functions of management. Without planning, control is meaningless, and without controlling, planning is useless. Planning presupposes controlling, and controlling succeeds planning. The controlling function involves the steps such as establishment of standard performance, measurement of actual performance, measuring actual performance with the predetermined standard and finding out the deviation, taking corrective action. So all these five functions are closely interrelated. However, these functions are highly indistinguishable and virtually unrecognizable on the job. But it is very important that these functions do operate in all the levels of management. Thus, these were the five functions of management. Hope you have understood the concept of functions of management.